If you're anything like me, then you may own a collection of comic books and have spent many afternoons reading about multiple heroes and their unforgettable adventures. Almost everyone has read or seen a comic book or has seen a movie about a certain superhero from a comic. If you haven't, then you must be living under a rock. In today's age, superheroes have an enormous impact on not just the youth, but also adults. Whether we want to be strong like Superman, brave like Batman, or just love our country like Captain America, almost all of us identify or want to identify with one hero or another. From a young age, I've always been fascinated by superheroes and some supervillains and what they can accomplish despite what society says. One of my favorites is Batman. I've always been drawn to Batman because he doesn't need crazy abilities like flying or heat vision to keep his city safe. He uses martial arts and weapons to keep crimes at a minimum. And then although she's not necessarily a good guy, Harley Quinn has become my favorite character recently. She can be chaotic and rash most of the time, but she actually does try and help others when they need it, as long as she's not trying to please the Joker at the time. So how did all of these characters and worlds come to be? During this speech, I will explain the origins of comics, the comic books' rise to fame, and how comics affect today's generation. Let's take a trip back to 1934 when DC is founded and a whole universe of crazy and exciting heroes begins. The history of comic books begins with the creation of DC Comics. DC was founded on February 1st, 1934, and was formed by National Allied Publications, Detective Comics Incorporated, and All American Publications. Although the company had the nickname DC, it didn't officially change its name until 1977. Soon after the founding of DC Comics, the popularity of comic books rises to consume war-stricken America. In February of 1935, National Allied Publications published its first comic, New Fun, the Big Comic Magazine #1. In 1938, just 9 years after the stock market crashed, National Allied Publications created Action Comics and introduced the world to its first superhero, Superman. Although originally dismissed as silly, this hero soared to one of the most popular sensations almost overnight. Even though Superman was created in 1938, he was not the superhero we know today. This version of Superman wouldn't get his ability to fly until the 1940s. When Batman was submitted to Detective Comics, the Justice Society of America was created along with many other heroes such as the Flash, Green Lantern, Sandman, Wonder Woman, Hawkman, and the Spectre. Unfortunately, the golden age of comics eventually had come to an end. After the World Wars, the popularity of superheroes declined significantly. Only major heroes such as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman had managed to hang on to publication, but in the 1950s, other comics began their comebacks. The Flash, the Atom, Green Lantern, and the Justice Society of America were reinvented and among the rising heroes in this silver age. Although not as many superhero comics were being used, the company still created comics in other genres such as sci-fi, western, horror, and romance. In the 1960s, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby took the leadership positions over Marvel Comics and became DC's greatest competitor. In November 1961, Stan Lee recreated the Fantastic Four to take place in New York City, allowing the influence of real historic events. Marvel's uprising forced DC to adopt similar characters and introduced the Teen Titans to the world, very similar to Marvel's X-Men. In 1985, a cleanup of multiple alternate Earths and building of bridges to tie heroes together marked the beginning of the modern age. DC decided that the tangle of alternate worlds was too messy and needed a do-over. DC began creating crossover comics, linking some heroes to others and joining worlds to create one superhero universe. In 2000, Marvel Comics decided to change and modernize their characters' origins, which led DC to do the same in 2005, and thus All-Star DC Comics was created. In 2011, DC once again decided they needed a blank slate and began publishing the New 52s comics, which were just relaunched, modernized versions of old comics. Marvel noticed the success DC was having with the New 52s comics, so they decided to do their own relaunch called Marvel Now in late 2012. Hopefully now you understand a little more about the history, rising fame, and modern age of comic books. So our adventure through time has come to an end, but I hope the journey was unforgettable.